All right, I'm gonna show you a little bit of just some group grinding action now. I'm gonna keep this recorded in a full screen here because we kind of went through some setup stuff before, so if the aspect ratio is a little wonky here, it shouldn't matter as much. But I do want to kind of start off with a couple of things, some things that after recording those first couple of videos, could elaborate a little bit more on and kind of like what it looks like. As well as that final fugue mission maybe looked exceptionally easy. So just to kind of like warn and give that bit of a disclaimer that you're looking at a raid gear tank that allows for a lot of room for error. And when you first utilize this, like you're still going to die quite a bit, figuring out like the nuances and how to move things around and how to fight stuff and accidentally clicking the wrong things. Like this doesn't make EQ on autopilot or anything any easier. It just allows you to play more characters at the same time. So you still have to be like very diligent and very attentive to what's going on. And even when you get to the point where you try to be cocky and try to do more stuff, you're just going to die more often. So the being raid geared, having a raid gear tank, like even though everybody else in this group is group geared and still missing augs and stuff like that, except for my Zerker has got done some open raids and has got like three raid pieces on there, but like by and large, like doing this with a raid gear tank is what makes it like possible. If I was trying to do this with free to play, like you wouldn't be seeing this level of content being done so easily. Like I even a couple days ago did the entire final fugue without cleric heals. And only afterwards I was like, man, that just felt a lot more difficult and having to spam stuff than I normally would, and realize I had the cleric I was playing with a friend and had a hotkey set up to a different character, so I wasn't getting any heals the entire time and still made it through the entire quest. And that's also a bit of on the flip side there is like the cleric healing in this expansion, if you're familiar with it, is just I think the healing in general just wasn't tuned. Big reason why everybody was done with this expansion in the span of a couple of weeks is just everything like out heals. Like on my cleric here, the only button that I'm clicking is this spam key here too, which has just got like the 121, 116, and 111 remedy lines in there, and that will keep the character up through just about anything. Other stuff is just some extra utility things and like group heals. So it's a lot to do with just I guess two parts there, just having a superior geared character do all the tanking, and then just healing that is like terribly untuned. So like very much track into the potential that with a new expansion in a couple months, it's totally different. I remember playing, last time I was playing a ton during, it was EOK. EOK it didn't see a level increase, level stayed the same. So it saw EOK did have a level increase. Maybe it was a different one, that one after Ring of Scale. Where like there was a pretty big spike in difficulty, and it got really difficult to start doing the similar stuff there. So long story short, like this isn't going to make your world just completely easy and be able to do anything you want with it. You still need to work your way through and get familiar with it, and just like anything else, the more you practice it, the better you'll get. Excuse me. So I'll get into just some like theory here, like when you just group grinding stuff. So Final Fugue, you saw a lot of just pulling or like running around and killing stuff, which isn't always ideal. There's still some micromanagement and stuff you gotta do like that. You still gotta be careful. But when you're just grinding stuff in a zone, I'll always try to find stuff like, so you can see we're in the keep here in Lorien's Song. At one of these forts here. I like this area here because it's out of the way when I'm just like lesson burning and stuff like that. There's no names here unless I want to get really, really crazy. I could pull some names from inside, but this is just like tons and tons of mobs and really, really fast respawns. These guys are stupid, easy to kill. And I've also that's why I started like leveling up Rangers just after watching somebody playing here with a couple of Rangers, and just absolutely peeling stuff down without like anything at all. Just headshot just goes through this stuff like crazy. So it just makes for an ideal setup just to kind of make yourself like a little temporary lesson grinding, power leveling home here. But what's awesome about this is like there's these perfect nooks in here where you could just back all of your tunes butts into, and then as you're pulling, as we'll see in a moment here, it's just like kind of running in, and you're turning around and facing the mobs, and they'll all pile themselves up perfectly. So they just pile themselves up, you kind of spin around them, and Bob's your uncle, and everything is dead, hopefully quickly. With, again, like you talked about in the few, like if you've got caster groups, which a lot of people tend to prefer, like obviously it doesn't matter, this kind of stuff here. You can kind of be out in the open. But again, I like the melee stuff. It's just funner to me to beat stuff up with sticks and swords and poke at them and watch them bleed. So we'll get into some pulling here. I got like my buffs going. So again, I've got the 0 here. I'll tap to kind of get some of the temporary stuff up and running that I'll refresh every so often. And a little bit more about like some of these hotkeys here. I think I kind of forgot to like go into like some of the discussion there. So like when you see here like this melody stuff here that's blank, how that would get triggered on my bard is, so like there's nothing here, but when I go into my bard, that melody there does have like some social stuff in there. So in this particular case, like it's going to trigger his epic and then go into his melody there, because his epic will stop the singing. So I've got that in there. So in tougher, longer grinds, like every 2 minutes, I'll tap that, and what it'll do is it'll ensure it stops his singing and then casts it, so that way it doesn't kind of bug it out and lock his song in there, and then gets into his melody. So I could refresh his epic with that one key there. Similarly, like the number 7 has got his alt activates to go through and cast his speed and stuff like that. So that's kind of how that works. When you're setting up other stuff, like you can get more intricate if you've got a lot more utility stuff. So a shaman or an enchanter or maybe druid with like debuffs and things like that, you might have your 2, and then you might need something like a buff or a debuff somewhere down the line that has more stuff than a single button has. So like what you would want to do in that situation is just go through and open up an additional hotbar. So you can go into your EverQuest, your hotkeys, open up another hotbar, go into your options, into your keys, and find that hotbar and set up all those to like your number 9 button or whatever that is. And you could put then a lot more macros in there, a lot more spell casts and things like that. I don't have any other characters. I don't have anything other than just like spam taunt stuff and burns that like have that much stuff in there that it needs more. So these couple of other things here, like the buffs, again, like it just has a couple of things in there, but that'll just fit your group makeup and style and things like that. Another nice little thing you could kind of do as you're getting a little familiar. This is also a nice thing. This stuff here has 0 aggro range. Like it looks like, oh my god, this isn't the best spot, but he's literally staring right at me and he's not aggroing me. The group heal thing here, so again, nothing in here, and if I go into my Zerker, obviously he's got nothing in that number 5, but my cleric, I've got that in there. That's a little wonky. Maybe that's why it was being finicky. Aha, I'm actually learning something as I'm going through here. So I've got the number 5 key here set up with some stuff here, and that's why it was lagging on doing those AA abilities. Anyways, I think out loud here. So I'm just going to get rid of that because I don't need that. I think that's been sitting there for 3 months like that. I'm glad I'm making this video. But I've got stuff lined up in number 5 here, and now I've got nothing going on in the number 5 there. But I do have, if you click over to my Beast Lord, his number 5, I've got some healing in there, as well as my Ranger. I've got a healing spell there in number 5, just a single thing there. And these are spells that are will heal my enemy's target. So that's just like a little perk and things you can kind of figure out as you're going through your group makeup. So when I hit 5 to do group healing on my tank, obviously it's a longer casting spell. Come here and we'll just hit one or something like. It's taking 2 seconds to cast compared to his normal remedy stuff, which is absolutely a fraction of a second to cast. So while he's potentially going through that longer cast time, my tank might be taking some more damage. So when I hit 5, it'll also trigger a couple tunes to start going through some direct heals to my main tank. So you'll just figure out some like nice little nuances and things like that that'll be little perks to helping out, just in whatever makeup and whatever they're capable of doing that's within their class structure. All right, so that was a bunch of talking, so I'll actually get into doing some pulling here. I got like buffs up. Let me make sure I'm set to main assist. That's always a fun one. You'll maybe forget every so often. And there we go. We got the ring, so we'll pull a bunch of stuff here and just kind of come in here and pop off just some point blank AE, which should tag everything. And so you may want to like start spamming 2 a little bit early so you can get some heals on, because this is usually where it gets a little hectic, is that first pull in as everybody is coming through there. So I hit the 1, and it doesn't look like everybody was going through and attacking, so I'm going to tap 1 a couple more times and get everybody up and running. Let me click on game parse window there to get that coming up so I can actually make sure everybody is doing their thing. And it looks like my bard is facing into the wall, so he's obviously not attacking. And there we go. Now he's going. I was able to see that because he was doing like 50k DPS. And since I've got a lot of mobs here, like I'm spamming 2 a little more rapidly, just to make sure that that cleric is just firing off everything at all points in time. I still turned my bard in a dumb way. There we go. And it's down to 4 mobs here. As you can see, like it's pretty easy, maybe a little bit spiky, but nothing like too concerning here. The cleric's doing a good job healing through. No need to go through any disciplines or anything like that. If I was doing some like hardcore grinding and really wanted to get in like a good lesson burn to get that next focus AA 120, 200 AA thing, I could easily pull 9 or 10 mobs at a time and just consistently do that and just rotate through a defensive discipline each time, kind of a thing. And again, that's just because as soon as you get raid geared, like it's just not tuned very well and everything becomes insanely trivial. Like realistically, an epic click will keep me healed up through like 3 or 4 mobs without any healing on this type of stuff. So it's pretty easy, just kind of pulling it in there. I got my ranger off to the side doing his headshot stuff. Everybody else kind of going through and just beating the mobs up. So that one pull was relatively easy because I kind of came from straight out and straight in, and they did everything for me. They just piled themselves up, and it's going to be far from perfect. You know, if you're in an area where stuff is casting, they might do something a little bit weird and not all pile up, and just sometimes if you're finding corners, I'm sure you know, like some corners are weird and just they're like dead zones, and mobs will start running off in weird directions, and thankfully this isn't one. But sometimes they'll do some weird stuff. So I'm going to get a pull and kind of come in from a different angle and just kind of show you like how like you do that. You would want to do that in theory. So I'll grab some of those and we'll grab from around here and kind of come in from the rear end. So I'm taking some damage here, so I'm going to tap 2 here, and my cleric will put a heal on me and make sure everything is fine. And like what I'm doing is I'm just going to like loop around and take a big old loop in, and then just it's the same theory as kiting. Like you're just trying to get mobs to follow the direction and stack up the way you want them to stack up. Usually in the first like couple of seconds here, you'll kind of gauge how good of a pull is. Like everything here is doing a good job, like just stacking up perfectly on top of each other. But sometimes you might need to kind of nestle yourself back in that corner there to get something back into a nice pile, because you could tell it's not going to be in the range of melee. But we're doing a pretty decent job here, and you can probably hear just kind of spam clicking that too, which is keeping the cleric doing its thing. And one of the nice things that you could do with this is like, since all the hotkeys are like lined up together, and I've got 2 set up here that's just kind of going through and doing his thing. Let me kill this guy and get on the next one here. I can click over on my cleric, and I can continue just to spam 2 in my cleric, and it's going to like essentially just have my tank do its stuff. So I can come through here and just kind of watch and make sure stuff is going on here, or come over to my Zerker and play around and just continue tapping and hit the 1 and get everybody up on assist and attack. So it's kind of like universally controlled from all your characters, because it's just an input thing. Just every keystroke is being controlled or being sent to every single window. So as long as you take the time to set up your hotkeys all the same, it's pretty darn nice. I tend to not want to be in those windows for too long, because if something goes hectic, it's going to happen on your tank, where you need to then actually maybe start popping off disciplines and things like that to try to keep yourselves alive, or try to feign death off any crappy situations. So yeah, we'll finish killing up this last one here and call this a video.